My mom took out a $70,000 loan in my name, then called me her practice run. You're not even in the same league as Sarah, she said. I mailed her a book called Parenting for Beginners and froze every account with my name on it. She started screaming. And that was just page 1. You're not even in the same league as Sarah, Mom said, stabbing her fork into a microwaved lasagna like it had personally offended her. She wouldn't be stupid enough to sign a loan without reading it. But then again, you always were the practice run. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Sarah, of course, was her golden girl. The one who made smart choices like getting knocked up at 22 and moving back home indefinitely. The one who, last year, maxed out 2 credit cards and somehow got rewarded with a healing retreat in Sedona that I paid for. Me? I was the guinea pig. The glitch before the final product. I looked at Mom across the table. She was in her usual fleece robe, hair in a messy bun, and still somehow managed to act like the queen of some suburban kingdom built on overdrafts and unpaid utilities. Dad sat to her right, silent as usual, only chiming in to make noises of agreement when she needed a chorus. The moment I knew something was wrong started 3 weeks earlier. It was a Friday morning, and I was updating my bank app before heading into work. My checking account was lower than expected. Like $70,000 somehow missing kind of low. I froze. Logged in again. Double-checked everything. And that's when I saw it. A loan. In my name. Opened 6 months ago. $70,000. I stared at the screen so long my coffee went cold. I hadn't taken out a loan. I hadn't even applied for a credit card recently. But someone had. And they used my name, my social, my information. That someone was my mother. I confronted her in person, stupidly thinking she'd deny it. Or cry. Or at least lie better. Instead, she laughed. You should thank me, she said, casually rinsing a mug in the sink like she hadn't just committed financial identity fraud. I didn't take it for me. It's for the family. Sarah needed help. You know how hard it's been for her. Help? I repeated, barely holding it together. With what? A new SUV and another semester of grad school she's going to drop out of again. She didn't even blink. It's not just about school. She has 2 children. Real responsibilities. Unlike you. That part stung more than I wanted to admit. I work full-time. I live alone. I've paid their bills on and off for the past 5 years, electricity, groceries, even bailed them out of a payday loan once. But none of that counted. Not to her. To her, I was still the practice run. The mistake she learned from. You're not even in the same league as Sarah, she repeated. You're lucky we even trust you with things like this. Like this. As if using my identity to take out a massive loan and giving the money to my sister was an act of trust. I walked out without saying a word. That night, I mailed her a book I bought off Amazon. Parenting for Beginners. No note. Just that. And the next morning, I froze every single account with my name on it. Credit. Banking. Utilities. Everything. That's when the screaming started. And that was just page 1. I wish I could say the screaming was the worst of it. But it wasn't. It was the silence that followed. That weird, sticky, calculated silence. The kind that only families like mine know how to weaponize. After I froze the accounts and sent the book, no one called. No texts. Not even one of Mom's guilt-soaked emojis. Just nothing. Until Sarah posted a Facebook status 2 days later. Some people are born to give. Others are just empty. Thankful for those who show up when it counts. #RealFamily, #SingleMomStrong. The comments were filled with sympathy and heart emojis. One of our aunts even chimed in, "You're the backbone of this family, Sarah." I wanted to throw my phone. I wanted to scream, "You're welcome for the backbone. I'm the one who paid for her spine." Instead, I screen capped everything. That was the day I created a folder on my desktop called Practice Run, Evidence. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. I pulled my full credit report. Turns out, the $70,000 loan wasn't the only thing. There was also a store credit line opened in my name a year ago. Electronics. Furniture. A flat screen. Delivered to Mom and Dad's address. I called the store and pretended to be my father. Said I was doing a family audit. The woman on the phone laughed and said, "Oh yeah, we love working with your wife. She's always so sweet." Sweet. Right. The same woman who once told me at 17, if we hadn't had you so young, we might have actually lived. But it wasn't just the money. It was how they all expected me to keep going. The week after the account freeze, my dad texted me. "Your mother's not doing well. Maybe you could help with Sarah's car payment this month? She's stressed." As if I hadn't just discovered he co-signed my name on two of his failed business ventures, one of which was currently in collections. I replied with a single word. No. 10 minutes later, I got added back into the family group chat, a place I'd left months ago. The name had been changed to Family Real Ones Only. The first message? From Sarah. Don't forget Mom's birthday dinner is next weekend. RSVP only. Dad's covering the bill since some people are too busy protecting themselves. They were taunting me, mocking me for protecting myself from their crimes. I stared at the screen and thought, this is war. But the real explosion didn't come until the screenshots. You see, I wasn't the only one they underestimated. One night, I got a message request on Instagram from a girl named Elise. Hey, you don't know me, but I used to date your cousin Tyler. I saw your mom's Facebook post about family betrayal, and I just wanted to say I believe you. We ended up talking for hours. Elise had spent a year in our family orbit. She told me things I hadn't even known. Like how Sarah once said, he's just a paycheck with a mouth. If he didn't complain so much, we'd be in Aspen every winter. Or how Mom had bragged, literally bragged, that she used my credit to get the house through the refinancing slump. She said you didn't mind, Elise said gently. She made it sound like you were okay with being used. I wasn't. And now, I was done pretending I was. That's when I went back to the hard drive. Years ago, I'd scanned everything. Emails, statements, screenshots, even old voicemails. There it was, a recording of Mom laughing with Aunt Denise. Oh, he'll do it. He always does. That's the benefit of having a tester kid. You get all the bugs out early. Sarah's lucky we had him first. I felt something break. Something old. Something heavy. That night, I printed the transcript. Put it in a manila folder. Labeled it Exhibit A, Tester Kid. Then came the final straw. I got a notification that someone had tried to log into my student loan account. Sarah. How did I know? Because she tried to reset the password, and the recovery email was mine. She was still trying to get more money. Still mining. Still squeezing. Still assuming I'd stay silent because that's what the practice run does. But not anymore. The next morning, I booked a dinner reservation. A neutral place. A public place. I sent the invite to my parents. Just them. Not Sarah. Message attached. Let's talk. One last time. But you'll want to bring a lawyer. They showed up 15 minutes late. Not because of traffic. Not because they were busy. Because they wanted me to wait. Power play. Delay dominance. Mom's specialty. She walked in first, wearing her smug little, let's pretend I'm the victim smile. Dad followed, quiet, tense, like he knew something was coming but didn't know how bad it was going to be. They sat down across from me in the booth. A cheap Italian place with fake ivy and Sinatra playing overhead. But I picked it on purpose. This was going to be a funeral. Might as well serve pasta. So what is this about? Mom asked, like I was wasting their time. You couldn't just call? I didn't answer. Instead, I slid a folder across the table, neatly labeled Family Fraud, Volume 1. She raised an eyebrow. Dad didn't touch it. I know about the loan, I said. The one in my name. I know about the second one too. The fake address. The falsified employment history. The co-signed application with my social security number. Dad shifted. I leaned in. And I know about the phone call Sarah made last week. To the loan company. Pretending to be me. Mom blinked. Slowly. That's when I pulled out my phone. Hit play. A crackling recording played from the speaker. Yes, I'm Jacob. Date of birth January 14th, 1993. I lost access to my portal. Can we reset the password? That wasn't my voice. But it was my sister's cadence. Her tone. Her fake customer service voice she always used to manipulate people. Mom lunged forward and snatched the phone like she could erase it with a swipe. This is illegal, she hissed. No, I said, loud enough for nearby tables to glance over. What you did is illegal. This is insurance. Dad tried to play mediator. You don't understand how hard it's been. Sarah's struggling. We were just trying to keep things stable. Stable? I laughed. You used my identity to fund a fantasy and an online MBA she never finished. That's when I pulled out the second file. Screenshots, emails, voicemails, and one more thing. A printed bank statement. It showed the loan deposit, and 3 weeks later, a $22,000 payment for a down payment on a Tesla. Tell me again how Sarah's kids needed food, I said. Because the only thing I see here is leather seats and self-driving entitlement. Then came the final blow. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small box. placed it gently on the table. Dad looked confused. Mom didn't touch it. So I opened it. Inside was a USB drive. And next to it, a printed screenshot. An edited photo posted on Sarah's Instagram. Blessed to be surrounded by those who matter most. In the photo, Mom, Dad, Sarah, her boyfriend, the kids. My name was tagged, but I wasn't even in the photo. They'd added the tag to make it look like I was part of it. I flipped the page. Next photo, a copy of my birth certificate, with one phrase circled in red. Unwed mother. I looked at Mom. Did you tell Sarah I wasn't Dad's kid? Is that why I'm the practice run? Because I was never supposed to exist. The air left the table like someone had cracked a window. Mom didn't deny it. She didn't say anything. Dad looked at her like she just dropped a grenade in his lap. You told me, he started. I told you enough, she snapped. It doesn't change anything. He's still your son. You still raised him. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From rage. You didn't raise me, I said, voice low. You trained me. Like a dog. To fetch, to sit, to hand over my wallet. That's when the door opened behind them, and someone walked in. A woman in a gray blazer. Clean, composed. Clipboard in hand. Her name was Nora, and she was the fraud investigator from the loan company. I stood up and waved her over. Mom's eyes went wide. Dad looked like he'd swallowed glass. She's not supposed to be here, Mom whispered. No, I said. She's supposed to be in court, but she agreed to take 5 minutes out of her day to tell you exactly what's going to happen next. Nora sat down, opened the folder in her hand. This account, she said, tapping the first page, is under federal review due to identity misuse, false documentation, and unauthorized access. The primary signatory is under investigation, and we've confirmed through voice recognition software that the call to reset the password was not made by the original account holder. Mom's mouth opened, but Nora kept going. The IRS has also been notified. Silence. You can't do this, Dad finally muttered. I smiled. I'm not doing it. You did. I'm just the one pressing play. As I stood to leave, Mom reached out and grabbed my wrist. Please, she whispered. Don't destroy this family. I leaned in, cold and calm. This family destroyed itself the second you called me a practice run. You should have known. Trials have consequences. Then I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard the click of Nora's pen and the soft rustle of panic. 3 days after the dinner, I went live on TikTok. Not to vent, not to cry, to document. The video was simple, me sitting in my living room, holding the manila folder marked Family Fraud. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't dramatize. I just laid it out. $70,000 loan in my name. Another $12,000 in revolving credit lines I never touched. Screenshots of texts where my sister called me a walking wallet. Edited audio she created to make it seem like I threatened her. A line from my mom's voicemail. You owe us for everything we gave you, including life. That line hit the algorithm like fire in a dry forest. Within 24 hours, the video had 1.4 million views. Then I dropped part 2. This one? Way more surgical. I walked people through a PowerPoint, no joke, titled Practice Run, a Case Study in Inherited Dysfunction. It had slides, charts, receipts. I ended it with, you don't get to use me, ruin my credit, fake forgiveness, and then scream family like it's a shield. I'm not a son. I was your safety net. And I've cut the rope. That's when the comments exploded. People stitched it. Therapists reacted. A podcast invited me to speak. Even a financial abuse nonprofit DM'd me asking if they could share the story. I said yes. Because finally, my voice was louder than theirs. Sarah posted her own video 2 days later. A shaky iPhone clip, half-whispered, with tear-streaked cheeks and dramatic sighs. She said I was lying. That the family was traumatized by my betrayal. That I used social media to destroy lives. She said, he's doing this for attention. That's all he's ever wanted. I replied with exactly one clip. From her own voice memo, taken off the hard drive she forgot to erase. Honestly, if he found out, I'd just cry and say Mom made me do it. Works every time. I added a caption. How's that working out this time? 10 million views. Meanwhile, I wasn't just making noise, I was rebuilding my life. I hired a lawyer and legally reversed every fraudulent account. My credit? Unfrozen. My name? Cleared. The loan company sent Mom and Sarah a letter confirming the debt now sat squarely on them. And I posted a short clip of me reading that line aloud, smiling. Congratulations, you're finally independent. But the best part? The job offer. A cybersecurity firm, one of the biggest in the country, emailed me after seeing the story. They said, anyone who can do what you just did, under that kind of pressure, should be working for us. I signed the contract 2 weeks later. Remote. 6 figures. Full benefits. First paycheck? I framed it. Caption on the frame. Trial passed. And the family? Oh, they didn't take it quietly. Aunt Lisa posted a Facebook status. It's disturbing how people will sell out their own blood for views. Uncle Dave commented, we need to go back to the days when kids respected their parents. But the silence from the others was deafening. One cousin sent me a DM. Just so you know, I always saw it. What they did. I just didn't know how to speak up. Too late now. The truth was a wildfire, and it had burned every mask in the family closet. 3 weeks after everything broke, I got a certified letter in the mail. From my parents. Inside, a typed letter full of pseudo-legal language accusing me of emotional defamation and demanding I remove all defamatory content. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, my mom had scrawled, please stop. You're ruining everything. I didn't reply. Instead, I did what I'd been dying to do since this all began. I printed one for myself as a reminder. One hoodie. Black. Bold white lettering across the chest. Practice run. Under it, in small print. Passed with distinction. Orders rolled in. Hundreds. Then thousands. It wasn't about money. It was about message. Because for every one of me, the firstborn fixer, the used, the ghost, there were 100 more out there watching in silence. Until now. The final nail? I bought the domain name. Made it a simple site. My story, the evidence, the timeline. But also, links to credit protection resources. Steps for checking your own identity theft. Tips for recognizing family manipulation. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was a guidebook. And on the front page, I wrote one sentence that still gives me chills. They made me the practice kid, but I made it out of the lab. It started with a knock. Not loud. Not threatening. Just casual. Like the kind of knock someone uses when they think they're still allowed in. I opened the door, and there stood Sarah. No camera. No fake tears. No filters. Just her, plain hoodie, dead eyes, holding a USB stick. I need to show you something, she said. I should have slammed the door. I didn't. Not because I forgave her, I didn't. But because something in her face was off. She looked scared. Not guilty. Terrified. She walked in slowly, sat down at the edge of my couch like the furniture would bite her. I didn't offer coffee. Or forgiveness. Just silence. Then she whispered, you were never the practice run. I laughed hard. Really? We just imagined 2 decades of manipulation and credit fraud. She didn't flinch. She plugged in the USB and said, just watch. So I did. It was a folder, labeled Mom's Drive. Dozens of files. Old emails. Scans. Legal forms. At first it looked like more of the same, until I opened a document dated 18 years ago. A notarized statement. It was a guardianship agreement. Not for me. For Sarah. I stared at the screen. My brain took a second to catch up. What is this? Sarah looked at the floor. Mom isn't my real mom. She said it flat. Hollow. Like a truth she'd carried so long it no longer hurt. Just rotted. I was adopted. Not legally. Quietly. Mom's older sister had me in another state. Gave me up. Our mom took me in, told the family we were cousins. Said she was helping out. Then she just kept me. I blinked. Wait. You're not. She shook her head. She's not my biological mom. You are. Silence. Not just in the room, in my head. Time stopped. What? Sarah looked at me. Her eyes, blue, like mine. Her fingers, curled the same way mine do when nervous. She whispered, I did the DNA test last year. After everything. I thought maybe I was adopted or something. I was. But not by strangers. I stood up. My legs were shaking. She kept talking. Mom had you when she was 17. Then her parents took you. Raised you like their own. She was forced to act like your sister. Then she had me at 24. And the same cycle started. Only this time, she kept me. But she never forgave you for existing. She hated you because you were the reminder. The stain. The trial she failed. And me? I was her second chance. My world cracked. I was never the practice run. I was the truth she buried. Sarah took a breath. I'm not here to ask for anything. I just needed you to know. Before it all falls apart. I didn't ask what she meant. I didn't need to. Because the next morning, my phone buzzed. Local news station. Breaking. Former social worker and loan officer under investigation for identity theft, tax fraud, and unlawful guardianship practices. There was a photo. Mom, being escorted out of a courthouse. Turns out, the same social worker who helped process my fake school loans had also lost records back in the 90s. She and Mom had a deal, silence in exchange for kickbacks. But it didn't hold up. Because truth doesn't need an army. It just needs one survivor who refuses to shut up. I didn't visit her. I didn't write. I didn't send a message. But I did something else. I opened my site one last time. And I changed the headline. It no longer said, "They made me the practice run." It said, "They made me disappear until I returned to testify." Below that, a new tagline. Not the beginning. Not the end. Just the proof. Sarah emailed me a few days later. No subject line. Just 2 words. "I'm sorry." I replied. "So am I. But at least now we know who was really on trial. And this time, it wasn't me."